So let's talk about UI challenge. Beginner, first of all. So question number 1, pretty simple, right? We have a title with a blue border, and that's pretty much it. So, first of all, let's add some text. Hello padding, I think, right? And on the CSS, we got the border. What are the pixels? Padding of 10 pixels, right? So padding 10 pixels, something like that. I think that's it. I believe everyone managed to solve question number 1. Yeah, that was free sugar. So let me straight go to question number 2. Slightly more complicated. In this particular case, we have a box with a red border. And according to the instructions, the border should be 1 pixel, solid and red. And look at the dimensions of the box. Width 100%, height 50%. No problem at all. So border, 1 pixel, solid, red. It's very bright today, right? So border, 1 pixel, solid, red, and width 100%, height 50%. Any padding, any weird stuff here? Not at all, right? Let's see if that works. It does work, right? I mean, I'm keeping this as agile as possible because that's pretty simple. All right, that's a good question. Let's talk about italics. Yeah? I'll show you 2 ways to solve the problem. One using CSS, one using HTML. Before I forget, size 50 pixels, no problem at all. Hello italics. All right, so hello italics. And then here, what else? Well, using CSS, font size 50 pixels, I believe. And how do you set an italic in CSS? Font style. I always found these things a bit confusing between font style and font decoration. It takes a while. Unless you work with these things on a regular basis, it's not that simple. Font style, italic. Is it italic or italic? Italic. Oh, italic. All right, so let's see if it works. It works, right? And now, can anyone tell me how to solve the same problem using only HTML? Yes. EM, fantastic. The special EM tag sets the text in italic. And here you go. It works as well. No, I don't think so. No. I'm not 100%. Oh, it works. Oh. I may be wrong, eh? Oh. All right. Okay. Let me read the docs. The I tag defines part of it in alternate voice or mood. Is usually, that's a bit controversial. What usually means? Usually it's plain italic. Element only when there is not a more appropriate semantic, you see? Okay, fine, it works, but I don't find this is particularly standard, to be honest with you. Yeah, because I is when you was to emphasize something, but yeah, why is italic and not bold? Anyway, yeah, it works, fair enough. I didn't know that. Okay, either way. Question number 4. I'm not reviewing your code, by the way. On the intermediate, I will like to analyze what you did. So modern football is a business. What do you think, Cam?
What about the subject matter or how to do the code?
No, about the football.
I agree with you. It is a business these days, but yeah, if you go up to Scotland, it's not like a business anymore. It's grassroots.
Yeah. Because I've been working at Sky, I know how much Sky paid every year to the Premier League. It's a lot of money. There is now some controversial because in Spain, whoever broadcasts this football is paying like 200 million a year. It's 5 times more here in the UK. All right, so modern football is a sport business, something like that, right? So now we want to highlight the word sport. We want to strike through to add a line in the middle, right? According to the CSS, look, CSS is helping a bit, right? It's telling you already how to prepare the exercise. So CSS is inviting you, Mr. Developer, to add a label with class name line through. All right, so I'm going to take that label class or class name, guys. Why? This is HTML, not React, right? Line through. All right. And then what? Line through. How do you add a line to the text? Text decoration. Oh. Text decoration is line through. Something like that, right? So let's see if it works. Yeah, it does work. I mean, is that actually testing anything? Because it's working all the time. Let me make it fail. Let me force a failure. Here you go. See? So if I force a failure, that's what you expect. That's what we return. Literally the same thing without the line. So look at how sexy that div is. All right. Last question. Number 5. Rounded borders are controversial. Yeah. So, very similar to the first question, having a border around, but this border will be rounded. It's not a square, right? Please add a yellow border. All right. So let's add a border before I forget. What's the width? 3 pixels width and the radius. All right. So border 3 pixels, solid yellow. And how do you change the radius of the border? Correct. Border radius, how much? 15. Fantastic. And I think that's it, right? That's it. Cool. Easy. Any questions on the beginner? No? Right. Keep training, guys. Keep training UI, right? I think it's very important. Cool. So, intermediate. A bit more complicated, right? But very, very important. Do you remember what I told you this morning about doing something different to all the other developers trying to break into the market? I talked a bit about backstop, CSS regression. Actually, we're using backstop here, right? When you compare the images, we are running backstop under the hood. Anyway, so UI intermediate is essentially about animations, flex and grid, pretty much, right? Once again, companies will really appreciate these skills. So they may be working with top developers, really good at JavaScript, DevOps, databases, all these things, but they struggle often with CSS. So the more you know these things, the better, obviously. All right, so in your face, the first question is really important. That was very, 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 very hard to do in the past. Aligning content both horizontally and vertically speaking. Yeah. All right. So the exercise is inviting us to use Flexbox. No problem at all. Let's put the title first. So let's start simple. Aligning content is very easy with Flex. I hope you agree on that. So now, before I forget, the border is there, lime color. The border fits all the vertical space and all the horizontal space, right? So before I forget, let me put height 100 pixels for now. That won't work, right? Of course, but let's see if at least the border is sorted. Yeah, you see, the border is correct. Fantastic. Fantastic. So let's focus on the text. That's the complex bit, right? So, yeah, we need to do a few things. First of all, how do we align the text horizontally? there are two options, and depending on the scenario, one or the other could be enough, right? So first of all, text align center, right? When dealing with text, that should be enough. But sometimes what happens if we have an inner box, a red box, for instance, in between? We cannot align boxes with text align. So there is something called justify content, correct, Lisa? Justify content center. You remember Microsoft Word in the 90s? Yeah, when you did some homework for the school, you could align the text to the left, to the right. One option was justify, right? So it works in that axis by default. By the way, that should be display flex, right? If I forget. Display flex. And now, okay, so hopefully, actually, let's try again. Let's see if at least horizontally speaking, the problem is sorted. Here you go, it is. Are you with me? It's cool. So now how do we move it back to the bottom? I saw people doing weird things like padding top 235 pixels and they keep trying, right? Don't do that, obviously, right? Because with a different smartphone that wouldn't work. All right, so I will give you my trick to solve the problem now. So now you can easily get confused between align content and align items, correct, Mountain? Align items. In the past I used to get confused, right? I know one of the two solves the problem. Which one? So the personal rule I have in my mind is, so what we know is, one of these two is the opposite. So, if justify content works horizontally, and that's something you can remember because of Microsoft Word, yeah, when you align the text, the other one will work vertically. And how do we remember? Look, because they are opposite, they should look as much different as possible, if that makes any sense. Content, these two words are too different, too similar, sorry. No, it's the other one. Right? Because justify content and align items are two completely different words. That's a stupid rule, probably, but for me it works, right? So align items. And then once again, center. And I think that should be it. Should we try? Here you go, it works. And it works for tablet as well. Any questions? No?
I'm going to check the answers.
Yeah, now, right now, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So, you can see, based on Sarah's solution, ignoring that unnecessary empty line here, that she is not using justify content, which is fine, as I said before, right? When dealing with text, we can align the text with text align. Again, once again, if we had some more complex stuff here, like a box, we will need to use the justify content. All good apart from that. So, all good for Simon as well. Same thing we did. Starting from the left. So, why? Align content. Yeah, so you see, that's exactly what we said, right? So, align content is align items. For CAM. Is that necessary? No, it's not. It doesn't hurt, it works. Yeah, exactly. Well, no, I get the point, yeah, of course. Yeah. As you don't know which one, you put them all and then, but let's try to be more efficient, right?
I didn't want to lose points for inaccuracy each time I submitted
Come
it,
on.
so I thought them all at once and then it would...
Anyway, Nico. So Nico contain. Look, so Nico did all the tricks on the child element instead of on the parent. So you don't even need to do anything with the H3, right? That's why it didn't work for you. For Mountain, the same problem. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I get the point. It's easy to get confused, right? That's why remember, if one is justify content, the other is not about content, it's about items.
Yeah, I tried with the items, but I didn't put the text alignment center.
Correct.
And the first time it didn't work, so I changed it again.
Nice. For Gideon, missing all the flex stuff, right? And for Chris, display flex. Oh, you see? Wrong. Why cannot I cannot downvote you now? Where is my evil scoring system? Oh, lucky Chris. I wanted to give him a negative point. All right. For Clarissa, justify. Right. It's not justify text, Clarissa. It's justify content. Correct. Yeah. I think that's it. So, any questions? No? Let's do question number 2. What we have here? We have 3 boxes, green boxes. And then let's read the instructions. That's interesting. So, there is a space of 10 pixels between the first, second, and third. Important, the gather only applies to the horizontal space between columns 1, 2, and 2, 3. So there is nothing to do with the borders surrounding our elements. All right, so we don't even have the HTML. We need to write it, right? So div class name equals class, thank you, Simon, class container, and then div class item, for instance. Actually, yes. So that's the way the exercise recommends us to call that class. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right. So hopefully HTML is sorted, right? And now at the bottom, what do we got here? Container. First of all, display flex, right? That's pretty obvious. And now, if you remember, some weeks ago when we did, I'm not sure if it was for a second week, we did a workshop about flex, we said that we need to type flex1 on the items to make sure they span all the available space on the screen. You remember that part? Flex1? All right, so flex1. And now, that's the most complicated part. Spacing, right? In other words, we can add padding right, not padding, it's margin, right? The space separated by 10 pixels gathered. So we can do here margin right 10 pixels, but if we do that, I don't think that will work, right? Here you go, you see the problem, right? That pink column on the right shouldn't be there. We are applying a right margin to the last column, and that's not what we wanted. Say it again? You can do that. I saw that some of you have done that, but I'm not a big fan of that solution. I think it's overcomplicated. Yeah, I don't want to add classes to special classes like item 1, item 2. No, this is going just to make everything more complicated. I'm going to do something very sexy. Look, item, dot, not dot, sorry, colon, last child. So sexy, right? Last child, that means the last item, no margin, right? That's a common issue using flex. And here you go, and then we get confetti. Or, let me show you something even sexier, very erotic. So look, the problem here is, we have by default margin right to all the elements, and then suddenly we say, okay, but on the last one, just remove it. That's okay, but I'm not a big fan of that because we apply something and then we remove it. So, look, item last child, right? Look at how sexy this is. Not last child. For every item except the last one, margin right. That's super cool. And it works. Then we don't need to mess around with special classes, right? All right, any questions? No? So let me check your code. So Sarah, she added a special class middle, and then you see she added margin left and right. Simon, he had 3 classes, and then obviously he needs to repeat lots of things, right? I mean, yeah, that's even worse. Let me show you something. So if that's what we have, if we got that piece of HTML, let me copy Simon's solution, right? If because of whatever reason you got something like that, in reality, what you can do is add multiple classes. Yeah, so then you the item, right? And every common property goes there, right? So now I don't have to repeat myself 20 times. Does that make any sense? Something like that, right? For Max essentially following Sarah style. She called it center. Can anyone tell me what that means? Correct. So that's top and bottom, and that's left and right. Do we need to add here the units, pixels? No. 0 is 0, right? That's it. Cool. So for Cam, see item 1, item 2, item 3. But that's, the thing is, that's a bit confusing because he's adding item 1 and item 3, but then he's not referring to them, right? So only add classes if you need to play with them. If not, I can write the Bible here, but there is no point, right? And finally, yeah, it didn't work for Nico because he essentially didn't perform any special handling. And also the flex one thingy was missing. Mountain, nice, item. Oh, using grid. Well, I mean, I'll tell you something. I was going to downvote Mountain, but the exercise is not opinionated. That's good. The exercise is not telling you how to solve it. So that's really good. In that case, I can vote you now. Why couldn't vote you before? That doesn't make sense, right? Anyway, give you 1 point. And for Gideon, any warning, any elegance issue for Gideon today? Indentation here is clearly wrong, right? It should be indented to the right. Ooh. That's controversial, right? This is like eating wasabi with a spoon, like that. Like a soup, right? Does anyone understand what Gideon? It's Gideon, right? What Gideon is trying to do here?
Yeah, that makes sense. He's done minus.
So he's expanding the box beyond the boundaries, beyond 100%. And then because he's adding padding on the left and on the right on each element, visually speaking, it will look correct. That's why the test passes, right? Because visually speaking is correct. But we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't force our boxes to go beyond 100%, right? And on top of that, it works because Google Chrome is very smart, but in reality, That's not strict. -5 what? Pixels, percent. We need always to specify the unit unless obviously we got 0. Also, one more thing, Gideon. That line is unnecessary because flex direction by default is wrong. Same as that line here. All right, so for Mountain, actually we reviewed that already, right? Yeah. Cool, Clarissa. So there is no flex at all, right? Calum count. Does that property exist, Clarissa?
I found that online, yeah.
Really? Calum count? Never seen that. Anyway, you, regardless of whether that works or not, you are missing the display flex on the container, right? That's the main thing.
Okay.
And I think that's it. Any questions? No? So let's talk about animations.
Oh, not this question.
Why?
I found it so hard. I was working for like 40 minutes. I couldn't get it
The
right.
question, I have bad news and a good news. The bad news is, yeah, it's tricky. The good news is, once you find a way to solve it, you realize it's much simpler than you thought. Let's see the problem. So you know there is a karting space here in the corner, right? And when someone has an accident, before the ambulance comes, so they show some sort of red flag. Red flags means the race is stopped. And actually, because this karting is high-tech, there are no flags. They stop your car with a remote control. But anyway, in the classic karting, they show you a flag, waving flag, and then you have to stop, right? Unless you want to, otherwise you are disqualified, which is a black flag. But anyway, because this is not a racing bootcamp, let's ignore these technicalities and let's present the problem. So, 3 colors, yeah? Green by default, green means full throttle, yellow means be careful, and red means stop. So by default it's green, half a second later should be yellow, half a second later should be red. All right, it doesn't look that complicated, right? So first of all, body, let's also animate some animation. So animation name, flags, I don't mind. Animation duration, how long? 1 second. Oops, not this one, right? 1 second. And animation fill mode, do you remember that?
What? I guess it's fast.
No?
Yeah.
We did a workshop about animation, right?
Yeah.
Sure we did. What is animation fill mode doing?
Is that like saying what direction it's coming from almost? Like,
Yeah. Remember that by default in CSS, animations are rollback. Once they finish, they go back to the real state. And now if you type forwards, that means the animation will stay forever on the final state, right? So now, keyframes flags. So looking at the description, you may be tempted to say 0% background color, what? Green, correct. 20% background color yellow, correct. And then 80% background color red. But if we evaluate this, it won't work. And it won't work. Look at a few things. First of all, by default, no color. After half a second, red. Which is wrong already, right? Should be yellow. And after 1 second, black again. It's like, what the hell? So there are some problems here. First of all, do you remember what I told you? That I wasn't a big fan of putting a keyframe at 0%? Because if there is some delay, that won't be captured until the delay, so that means the original state will be wrong. Am I speaking Chinese now? All right, so I'm not going to repeat myself, guys. Sorry. Just watch the workshop on YouTube, and you'll find out why I'm not a big fan of having the 20%. Let's try that to see if at least we got the original state sorted. At least. Well, even though the image is missing because of whatever reason, let me try again. The solution seems to be correct. Yeah, here you go. Right? Sometimes the image is not captured correctly. Anyway, so the first state now at least is correct. And now, after half a second is wrong. Should be yellow, but it's red or sort of red. The problem is, the picture is captured after half a second. After 0.2 of a second, we are changing the color to yellow. After 0.8 of a second, we are changing it to red. But what happened in between?
Go back to green. Sorry.
To green,
Oh, no, never mind.
not to green. Oh, sorry. Sorry. That wasn't the best explanation of my life. So, originally, let me rephrase that. Originally, it's green. After half a second, should be yellow. Yeah? So, before half a second, we change it to yellow. But literally in between, it's not yellow anymore. Why is not yellow anymore after half a second? Don't forget, we are running an animation. An animation is about interpolating numbers.
Yeah, so we have to start the red from 50.
So you want to put 50 here.
I know because I lost on this exercise. I tried all combination and with seconds and was scratched.
Right. So the problem is, after half a second, we won't have any yellow or any red. We'll have probably some sort of orange because we are animating. 0.2 yellow, 0.8 red. The color will change every millisecond. That's why it doesn't work. Say it again? No, listen. Here we're taking a screenshot. We're capturing the screen after half a second, which is like here, something in between. So that doesn't work because at half a second, the color should be yellow, not some sort of orange. In other words, look, can we do that? Look at the trick. Here we are ensuring that from 0.2 to 0.8, the color is going to remain stable. So if I take a screenshot on 0.5, it will be yellow. Here you go. You see? First two are right. But now, what happened? Why, at the end, our screen is green again?
Is it because you don't specify what's happening?
Correct.
So it's going to default back to green, so you need to tell it at 80, switch to red, or 81, or whatever.
Or 100?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. We are missing the final keyframe. What happened at the 100%? How can we interpolate? There is nothing after 80, right? Because of that, the browser will default to the original color. So, can do that, right? 100%, background color, what?
Red.
Red, fantastic. Fantastic. And if we try again, it works.
Just have to go and see what happens at 100. Ah, I got so close.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me quickly review what you did because we are about to call it a day in regards to this review. We need to start a challenge. So for Sarah, yeah, you see that's wrong. It should be yellow, and then the red one and 100%. Yeah, I mean, I believe everyone has pretty much the same problem, right?
So you have to put 100% as red.
Yes, 100% as red, because that's the final state. Once your flag is red, it should remain red forever, somehow, right? So yeah, I obviously assume the majority of you had the same issue. All right. Anything else, guys? No? We'll do another UI challenge at some point before the end of the bootcamp, probably last week, right? So keep training, keep practicing. Cool.